Hello, and welcome in to the final episode of Book 1 of Mystery in the Ozarks. That's right, we made it to the end. I'm so proud of this book, and I appreciate each and every one of you wanting to hear the story. But I hope you heard that. This is just Book 1. We have more to write after this. Enjoy! Oh, and really quick, today's video has a sponsor. It's BookPumAlive.com. They handle all sorts of editing, book coaching, writing coaching, anything you can think of to do with the writing or author industry, they'll help you out. Go check them out. It's BookPumAlive.com. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to send me a message. I'll help you out. Chapter 23. What now? And they threatened us, and you overheard, and now we're all caught up. Phew, that was a lot to say, Carol lamented as she finished filling Tricia in on all the pieces of the story. Tricia's face showed the confusion, but excitement, but also overwhelmed feelings that she had. Okay, so if I understand everything correctly, you had just seen a coded message on that wall, she said as she pointed to the mosaic, before we all showed up? And there's potentially a treasure hidden somewhere here that actually belonged to Jesse James? And he left clues for someone to find it. Your grandpa found those clues and then gave them to y'all? She looked a bit incredulous at the others. Then suddenly her face changed to excited. Can you show me? She said excitedly. Yeah, of course, said Will, as he put the compass back up into the light to shine on the wall. Sure enough, the symbols appeared in the white areas of the mosaic. Holy cow, it really does show up. This is amazing. There's so many. Tricia yelled out in excitement. Yeah, it looks like a few lines of a message, but without the cipher, I don't know how we can figure out what it says, Greg replied, a bit dejected as he stared at the symbols. Yeah, hey Carol, why did you throw the cipher into the fire? Jake asked with a small amount of frustration. Like, I know you were just trying to help, but man, I wish we knew what those symbols meant. He looked over to Carol for her answer, but she was sitting down looking at her phone and then back to the wall and then back to her phone. Hey, Carol, you okay? I was asking why you tossed the cipher into the fire, he repeated in her direction. She didn't reply, but continued to look at the mosaic on the wall and then quickly back to her phone. Carol, hello, Jake said. It says to whoever found this place, please protect it as I have. To open the tree, you need the key. To find the keyhole, you need the code 44134-277. Once inside, please read the journal I have left. It will explain so much. Jesse. The others are all in shock at Carol as she said the words. Jake and Will were both stumbling for words and then Tricia said it for them. How in the world did you know that? What is happening right now? Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I forgot to tell you. I took a picture of the cipher with my cell phone a while back, so if anything happened to it, we'd have a copy. So earlier I thought if I burned it, they would leave. And just now was the first time I was able to see the symbols long enough to decipher it, so I kind of zoned out, she replied. Will and Jake both looked dumbfounded, but then quickly changed to huge smiles as they realized this meant that they might actually find this treasure. Greg's face was washed with confusion and shock, but he also cracked a smile, realizing the same. Wow, Carol, you never cease to amaze me. You're always so smart, Jake said as he grabbed his cousin in a quick hug. Agreed, added Will, as he joined the now group hug between the three of them. Okay, yeah, I get it, Carol said with a smile. But are you all curious about what that message means? It's a good point. It's not very straightforward. But we know you found a key, and it does mention that. However, how do we use this code it talks about? Asked Tricia, who was now inspecting the wall. The other four looked at her a bit shocked at how quickly she understood it all and now wanted to help. She looked back at all of them and said, What? You gave me a real-life mystery and a treasure hunt. This is a dream to me. It's a lot to take in, yeah, but also pretty straightforward. I'd love to see where this all goes, and with y'all if that's okay. The others smiled and Carol said, Okay. And the others smiled and agreed, and Carol said, Okay. Well, now that we're all on the same page, what do we even do with this code? I don't know, Greg replied. I wonder if it's something cool, like one of the pieces of the mosaic needs to be pressed or something like that, Will chimed in. I think you're thinking too much in the movies, Will, replied Jake. Besides, there must be hundreds of those little things. How would we know which one to press? Carol said out loud as she looked at the wall. What if each tile had a number? She began. And as she walked forward counting and read it, as she walked forward counting, and what if it read left to right, top to bottom? Then the number 44 tile would be here, she said as she pressed on the tiny tile. Click. The little tile, or the small tile depressed. It worked, she exclaimed to the others. Okay, then that would make the tile for 127, that one over there, the small green one, she said as she pointed it out just out of her reach. On it, said Will, as he stepped up and pressed the small piece of glass. Click. Okay, 277 was the other number. That would be this one, Tricia yelled excitedly as she stepped up and pressed the spot. Click. Yes, that was it, Carol exclaimed. As she spoke, a few pieces of glass in the very center of the mosaic seemed to fall out the back, leaving what looked to be a hole in the wall. Is that a keyhole? Will said excitedly. I think it is, said Greg as he got up closer to look. Jake pulled the key out of his pocket and asked Greg to move aside. Greg stepped out of the way and Jake gently slid the iron key into the wall. It fits! Now what? Jake said, as a bit overwhelmed with excitement. Turn it, dude! Lefty loosey, righty tighty, Will blurted out. Jake turned the key to the left to see if it would unlock anything. Click. The entire middle of the mosaic pushed back and revealed a passage. It was a door in the wall. Jake looked at the other two and said, Well, who's going in first? And by the time he had finished his sentence, Carol had already pushed past him and disappeared through the doorway. Wait for us, Carol, Jake said as the rest of them went scrambling in behind her. Immediately through the doorway, the smell of old dirt and wood filled the air. The door opened into a small dirt tunnel that looked to be about 30 to 40 foot long, that was supported with massive wooden beams about every 6 foot. You guys aren't going to believe this, Carol's voice rang down the tunnel to them from the other end. The rest of the party hurried down the tunnel to see what the fuss was all about. Wow. Just wow. The words left Jake's mouth as he got to the end of the tunnel and could see what Carol was talking about. At the end, it opened up into a massive stone cavern. The room was about 20 foot by 20 foot. On the right side of the stone room was a huge pile of gold, bars, and coins. There was every type of jewelry you could think of laying on the pile. All kinds of shiny swords and cups. It looked like a literal pile of treasure. To the left side was a giant wooden bookshelf filled with books and journals. Beside the bookshelf on the wall was a massive map with different pins in different locations all across the world. This is unbelievable, Jake's voice squeaked out. Dude, Will's voice yelled as he scanned the room. It's really real, Greg blurted out as well. Yo, this is amazing, Tricia said as they just stared and took in the sights for a few minutes. Chapter 24, Answers, Finally. Look at this, Carol said as she was looking through the books on the shelves. They had all begun to wander around and try to take stock of everything that was there. I think this is the journal Jessie was talking about, she said as she opened the front cover of a book that she had found with the name Jessie on the front of it. The front page had a message that read, Dear whoever is reading this, if you are, then I am no longer with the living. My name is Jesse James, and I've been working for the Treasure Protection Program of the Masonic Lodge for several years now. Many people know my name for crimes I've committed, but most of them were done either to protect these treasures or to pay the cost it took us to find them. I do not know if the Treasure Protection Program will still exist when you read this, but hopefully it does. The program was set up to protect special artifacts from history and keep them from the hands of those that would just sell them or worse, damage them. We were the Southern U.S. Division. The reason I left the clues to all of this was in hopes that whoever finds this is a good human that will carry out my wishes to protect and preserve it. There are those that are out there that oppose us, and they are why I'm leaving this message and the clues that led you here. I believe someone will betray me in the near future, and not knowing who or when, this felt like the best idea to me. The map on the wall on the shelf to its left are treasure hunts that I was working on trying to find before others did. I've scouted out several here in Arkansas, but also as well as Tennessee, Texas, Oklahoma, and Missouri to name a few. As my last request, I hope whoever finds this takes up the duty of protecting these treasures and continues to keep them safe from others. Sincerely, Jesse James. P.S. The Gunderson family is very kind and can be trusted. They are the only ones that I am aware of. Carol stopped reading and looked to the others, who all seemed shocked by all of the news. So Jesse James worked for the Masonic Lodge as a treasure hunter? Will's voice cut in. That's awesome! And so all of this is ours now, he said as he ran towards the pile of treasure and started looking through all of it. I guess it is, Greg mumbled out, still in shock at everything he was seeing. Well, I mean, there's a lot to go through here, y'all, and we need to get some people in here to check all of this out, not to mention your parents. They're going to be in such shock when they see this, Tricia blurted out. Ring, ring. Someone's cell phone cut into the noise in the room. Oh, sorry, that's my cell. 1 second, said Greg as he pulled it out of his pocket. He looked at the screen and said, I don't know this number, but I give my cell out at a lot of events. I'll just check to make sure if someone needs me real quick. Hello, this is Greg, he said as he answered it. His eyes got really big, and he stood silently listening for a few minutes. He nodded in understanding a few times, and his eyes returned to their normal shape, and then he said, Yes, I understand. Will do, and hung up the call. Hey everyone, he said, that was the lodge? You remember the place I said was on my paycheck stub, but I had never spoken to them? That was them. And they let me know that the treasure protection program is still active. And some sort of alarm was triggered when we opened the door that alerted them. They were not even sure of the location of the southern vault, and they thought it was lost to the ages. But now they want to speak to me in a more private setting to explain some things. Their cell phone was not secure enough for them, and they have asked that none of us tell anyone anything that we saw today. They will explain everything to me once we are able to speak a little longer. They are calling me to discuss next steps tomorrow, but wanted to make sure that we knew they are real. This is insane, he said as he finished the story. But they're the owners of the building, and we need to abide by what they say, I think. What do you all think? This is nuts, agreed Will, as he was holding up a gold bar to the light. They also said not to take anything from the premises just yet. Not until we've inventoried it. Will's face dropped a little as he put down the gold bar. But don't worry, Will. They also said to tell the three of you that the Masonic Lodge full ride scholarship to whatever college you want is yours, as long as the secret is kept. Carol, Will, and Jake all exchanged glances and then jumped in excitement. There will be more specifics when I speak to them next, but they wanted to make sure that I let all of you know they're extremely grateful for your help in uncovering this treasure. He continued, still in disbelief himself. I just can't get over this place actually being real, Jake said as he looked around a little starry-eyed. They had found it. They had found the treasure his grandfather had spent so much of his life working for. We did it, Grandpa. We did it, he thought to himself as he walked around the room. After a few minutes of awkward silence and no one really knowing what to say next, Will's voice broke the silence. Y'all, I think this is directly below Sonic. I can smell tater tots. Anybody else want some tater tots? They all smiled as this broke the tension in the room. And Jake said, Oh, I'm in, as he started running towards the exit tunnel. Last one there, boys! And he sprinted out the exit tunnel with Will right behind him yelling, No fair, you got a head start, as he chased his friend. Carol laughed at her two cousins and then looked to Greg and Tricia. Y'all want to join us? I have a sneaky feeling that this won't be our last adventure together. Tricia and Greg both smiled and nodded their heads in agreement. You know, chili cheese tots and a Route 44 Diet Cherry Limeade sounds amazing right now, Greg said as he smiled, knowing that from all that the lodge told him on the phone when they spoke, this was just the beginning of their adventures. I'm really proud of this book. Thank you for listening to it. I'm sorry I cried at the end. This took a lot out of me. Not a lot out of me, but it can be scary to be a writer. I wasn't planning on crying at the end, but since I did, I wanted to share it with you. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. I'll be posting a video here in the next few days on some of the locations that are in this story if you guys would like to check that out. Thank you to everyone who has listened and enjoyed this. I'm really excited to write more. Just thank you for helping my dream come true.